Ah. Hello, it is I, your undead host with the most, Knox Burzum. Sorry for the odd entrance there, folks. I was just out in the garage putting together today's episode, you see. This is my First Manson.
Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
I feel so good, I feel so numb, yeah. Back in the sun, what have I done? I feel so bad, I feel so numb, yeah. Back in the sun, what have I done? I feel so good, I feel so numb, yeah.
For the better part of the last 3 decades, Brian Hugh Warner, aka Marilyn Manson, has been every mother's worst nightmare. A radically outspoken, highly creative, and well-educated artist who doesn't just thrive on negative publicity, hell, he outright lives off of it. But have you ever stopped to wonder why his popularity has, for the most part, waned in the last 10 or so years? That's what we're here to talk about today on Enter the Void, the 4 most recent albums by Marilyn Manson. First of all, I suppose that if I'm going to talk about Marilyn Manson at all, I need to talk to you a little bit about the impact he had on me when I was younger. I, of course, was introduced to him through The Beautiful People, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, and several other songs that we all know and grew up with. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we're here to talk about today is his 4 most recent albums, the last decade roughly of his career, and how he's fallen from meteoric stardom down to what is considered really kind of a niche thing once again. This is Marilyn Manson's most recent decade, from The High End of Low, Pale Emperor, Born Villain, and finally, Say 10. Let's do it. I suppose though, before we begin a serious discussion here, we should take a very quick jaunt into the past, so I can explain to you just exactly what we're dealing with. From 2003 until 2007, Manson took a 4-year break from the limelight while he was dealing with the fallout of his inevitable divorce from burlesque dancer Dita Von Teese. He wrote a bunch of very depressing songs, had a lot of production work put into the thing, and created Eat Me, Drink Me. It was very highly critically acclaimed, and 1 or 2 of the songs even made it into major Hollywood movies. You all might remember the song If I Was Your Vampire being used in the promotional material for Max Payne even. The movie wasn't so great, the album was a lot better. Anyway, I digress. The important thing to take away from all this is that the stripped down goth rock feel that had replaced the industrial metal feel of his previous albums is what would eventually make him slightly infamous and follow him into 2009's The High End of Low. So, let's go. The High End of Low is the 7th studio album from Marilyn Manson. It was released on May 20th, 2009 by Interscope Records, and interestingly, would be the final album to feature the band's original drummer, Gingerfish, who is now jamming out with Rob Zombie. During his production, it started with guitarist Tim Skold, but he quickly left the project by the sidelines when bassist Twiggy Ramirez, Manson's longtime bromance, hooked back up with the band. The songs are based mostly about emotions that Manson went through during his divorce from the burlesque dancer and amazingly beautiful woman, Dita Von Teese, and his subsequent hooking up with then teenage actress Evan Rachel Wood. Again, yummy. The album begins with a simple song called Devour. Devour ends up being about psychological issues and your feelings towards a person who just doesn't love you back the same. The song is roughly 2.5 minutes of nothing really other than Manson crooning, like, a lovesick teenager, which makes sense for the song's thematic element, and an acoustic guitar, followed occasionally by some low bass riffs. It eventually does reach a crescendo, which is pretty neat towards the end of the song, but at that point in time, anyone who isn't super into it has already left the building. I personally found it to be a little bit of a boring start to the album, but then again, that's why I'm just a critic and not a multi-gajillionaire rock star. On to Pretty as a Swastika. Pretty as a swastika, such a strange name for a song. But then, Manson is well known for his Nazi-esque imagery in many of his videos and in some of his stage presentations as well. It's got great shock rock value, and at this point, that's something that we've really come to expect from him anyway. So, it's a great shock rock track, just in-your-face beats and chunky riffs from the start till the bitter finish. A fun, old-fashioned stomper about personal pain and suffering. Warner takes us on an outlaw country-inspired trip with 4 rusted horses in an attempt to reclaim his Antichrist superstar aesthetic, and in this it somewhat works. And then launches into a nice solid 4/4 time polka with Armageddon motherfucking Gaiden. Fun fact, several versions of this song are blocked by Ragin' on YouTube. I don't have a fucking clue why with some of the other weird shit on the site, but apparently there you have it. The song is a look into the depressed soul of a broken down and sold out poet. He's making sense of the trivial world around him and wants you to be sure to understand he doesn't think the world is worth a shit. Are we bright and sunshiny kids? Yeah!
Of the remaining tracks on the CD, there are only a few truly interesting singles. We've got offerings like I Want to Kill You like they do in the movies, inspired by and written about his breakup with actress Evan Rachel Wood. My god, she is just gorgeous. Running to the Edge of the World is a power ballad inspired by the work of David Bowie. It was also one of the very first tracks to have its editing, mixing, and mastering finished for the album The High and of Low. Unfortunately, it was also originally a 25-minute long power ballad. Hi, fuck me. 25 minutes of Marilyn Manson on one damn track? Even I'm not up for that shit. Apparently, neither was the studio. Essentially, Brian found out what the maximum length for a record would be, and got to that track and said, fuck it, I'll do it live. Essentially, doing it in one continuous 9-minute long take. Not edited, not added in with effects. It is truly Brian Warner at his worst.
Wow is an industrial dance song, and Manson has described it as a turning point for the album, explaining the first half of the record is kind of bitter and angry, but there's a confidence that starts to rebuild itself at the Wow track. I wanted to do a song that represented who I am and why I started doing this in the first place. Manson plays a one-stringed guitar on the song, which also features the sound of him snorting lines of something, whatever that might be, as a percussion instrument. Yeah, so basically he used nose candy as the drum. Oh, cocaine. In a review of the leaked demo, which was originally titled The Wow, James Gill of Metal Hammer described it as genuinely filthy and intensely sexy. It's an interesting accolade there, I guess. It doesn't have anything in the way of memorable hooks, but it's the sort of track that would sound amazing at a goth strip club, if one existed. Of course they exist. Certainly in LA. At any rate, White Spider, yeah, there's nothing white and racy about W-I-G-H-T Spider at all, is one of the heaviest songs on the album, and it has been compared to the work of Mastodon. Metal Hammer also said of the track, whether conscious or not, what the band learned from Trent Reznor is back. The track builds and built without changing direction. Born Villain is a fairly straightforward metal album with plenty of stripped down gothic aesthetics to keep anyone happy who's looking for a decent metal experience. There's no special effects here, but there's something really special about a few of the tracks, and we'll touch on them here. My personal favorite being No Reflection, which was used as the end credits track in the horror film The Chernobyl Diaries. It's a good headbanging track with classic Manson qualities and themes. I also really enjoyed the track The Flowers of Evil, which is a great high-energy track about rediscovering one's own power in life.
Then we come to the most Manson track on this Marilyn Manson CD, Children of Cain. It's about being as far removed from the Christian God as is possible, which I of course don't mind at all. Don't assume I'm always with you. It's just where my mortal body happens to be. Manson softly sings to us as if in a lullaby from hell. It's beautiful. The rest of the album has been jerked up by every even minutely mainstream critic in the US to over in Japan. That, by the way, is a literal statement. Lay Down Your Goddamn Arms is a good track. However, I prefer his faster, heavier songs, like on the Golden Age of Grotesque. I know we're not here to talk about that album, but I assure you at some point in time we will, as it is my favorite Marilyn Manson album. And fuck all the haters who don't say that as well. Any rate, Born Villain ends up being a darkly gothic, pleasantly aesthetically pleasing album all the way around. A good goth rock album. On to greater and greener pastures, I suppose, yeah?
The Pale Fucking Emperor.
When I first started this review, I was barely acquainted with the album The Pale Emperor, I won't lie. I kind of snubbed it at the beginning, you might say, even because it wasn't quote-unquote heavy enough for me. However, after having done some digging into the details behind the album's making, my outlook has changed significantly. If we're being fully honest, there's only a few songs on the album I really enjoy. There are Cupid Carries a Gun, Third Day of a 7-Day Binge, cause fuck yes, drugs, alcohol, and weird sex, of course. And the Mephistopheles of Los Angeles. As it turns out, this album is dedicated to his mother after she lost an 8-year-long battle with Alzheimer's. This, of course, changes my viewpoint somewhat on the makeup of the album. I feel that if someone is dedicating an album to a parent, especially one that he was so close to, well, it must be a really special piece of work to them, and I'm sure that he's actually quite proud of it. In my mind, it doesn't completely let go of the fact that Pale Emperor was supposed to be a really heavy album. And it's not a really heavy album. When it was first announced, Brian said, I'm going to make a death metal album. And of course, he didn't. He let us down for like the third or fourth time. But it's a fun gig. It's a fun CD. It's just a really goth rocky CD. And I just wish that he would return to heavy metal. But I know it's not going to happen. So, that essentially is The Pale Fucking Emperor, which is still a great album. Check it out. Just understand that you're not going to bang your head more than about, 15 minutes of the album. But, on the other hand, it is undeniably Manson. Well, we've come to the end of our own little long, hard road out of hell. Satan is Manson's most recent offering to the world of avant-garde dark metal. One of the best little pieces of violence is called You Say God and I Say Satan, the eponymous title of the track. It is beautiful. You say God and I say Satan. That's the real Kratzgren song. Fuck the flowery words, and let's talk about it. You say God and I say Satan. Lucifer is the excuse for every terrible thing that happens under God's watch. Cocaine and Abel, don't baptize whores, I'm a legend, not a fucking fable. These are the words of the Father Manson. Yes, of course he's a father. He's recognized by the Satanic Church. Keep it on, goddammit. We don't have all different bullshit after all. But it's fucking powerful at any rate, and the underlying message is clear. Hail Satan! I was originally going to give you all a brief overview of my feelings of Marilyn Manson's entire body of work at the end of this review. I have suddenly realized, however, that is not very right. Manson's been making music since between 92 and 93. It's changed a lot. There's no real fair way to give you a opinion of the entire body of work right now. Suffice to say, I prefer his earlier music to his later music. I like all of it though, in its own rights, I really do. So, at the end of the whole Manson quadrilogy, which it will probably be, I will give you an overview then of what I really think of his whole body of work. Until then though, don't
Don't be afraid to check out new music all the time. I mean, why the fuck not, right? Especially if it's Father Manson's. So, until next time, degenerates, I am Knox Burzum, reminding you to enter the void!